In August 1814, British soldiers marched into Washington, D.C., sat down in the president's mansion to eat his fresh dinner, and then set the White House on fire. It remains one of the few times in history that the capital of the United States was successfully captured and burned by a foreign power. Yet for many today, the War of 1812 is little more than an obscure footnote squeezed between the American Revolution and the Civil War, often called the Second War of Independence. This three-year conflict pitted a young United States against the global superpower of the day, Great Britain. It was a war that neither side was fully prepared to fight, yet its consequences transformed North America forever, shaping the future of the United States, forging Canadian national identity, and devastating indigenous sovereignty. How did a trade dispute on the high seas spiral into a bloody battle for a continent? Let's break it down. To understand the War of 1812, you first have to look across the Atlantic to Europe. In the early 1800s, Great Britain was locked in a life-or-death struggle against Napoleon Bonaparte's France. To starve Napoleon's empire, the British Royal Navy instituted strict trade blockades, effectively arresting neutral American merchant vessels trading with Europe. Even worse was the practice of impressment. Desperate for manpower, British warships regularly boarded American ships and forcibly impressed or kidnapped thousands of sailors, claiming they were British deserters. To Americans, this wasn't just a naval issue, it was a direct insult to their national sovereignty. At the same time, tension was exploding along the western frontier. As American settlers pushed into native lands, Shawnee leader Tecumseh and his brother, Tenskwatawa, formed a powerful multi-tribal confederacy to resist U.S. expansion. The British, eager to maintain a buffer zone north of the border, began supplying Tecumseh's forces with weapons. Back in Washington, a fiery group of young congressmen known as the War Hawks, led by figures like Henry Clay and John C. Calhoun, demanded action. They saw an opportunity not only to defend American honor, but also to expel Great Britain from North America entirely by invading British Canada. On June 18, 1812, U.S. President James Madison signed a formal declaration of war. But the young nation was about to get a harsh reality check. Former President Thomas Jefferson famously predicted that capturing Canada would be a mere matter of marching. He couldn't have been more wrong. The U.S. military was poorly trained, underfunded, and reliant on undisciplined state militias. The first invasion attempt ended in catastrophe. At the Siege of Detroit, British Major General Isaac Brock teamed up with Tecumseh. Using clever deceptions to make their forces look twice their actual size, they convinced American General William Hull to surrender Detroit without a real fight. Subsequent American invasions at Queenston Heights and along the Niagara frontier were similarly repelled by a combination of British regulars, Canadian militia, and native warrior alliances. Realizing they couldn't win on land without controlling the waterways, the Americans turned to the Great Lakes. In September 1813, 27-year-old Master Commandant Oliver Hazard Perry led a fresh fleet into the Battle of Lake Erie. After a brutal, close-quarters gun battle, Perry defeated the British squadron, sending his famous dispatch, "We have met the enemy, and they are ours." This victory cut British supply lines and allowed U.S. forces under General William Henry Harrison to invade Upper Canada. At the Battle of the Thames in October 1813, American troops broke the British line. Tecumseh was killed in the battle, dealing a fatal blow to the native confederacy and ending their dream of an independent native homeland. In April 1814, everything changed. Napoleon was defeated in Europe, allowing Great Britain to redirect thousands of battle-hardened veteran soldiers across the Atlantic. The strategy shifted from defense to retaliatory attack. In August 1814, a British expeditionary force landed in the Chesapeake Bay and marched directly toward Washington, D.C. After scattering American militia at the Battle of Bladensburg, British troops entered the nation's U.S. Capitol. In retaliation for American troops burning public buildings in York, modern-day Toronto, a year prior, the British set fire to the U.S. Capitol, the Treasury, and the Executive Mansion. Flushed with victory, the British turned their sights north toward the wealthy port city of Baltimore. To take the city, they had to destroy Fort McHenry, which guarded the harbor. For 25 grueling hours, British warships bombarded Fort McHenry with mortar shells and rockets. Watching from a ship anchored in the harbor was an American lawyer named Francis Scott Key. As dawn broke through the smoke on September 14th, Key saw that the massive 30 by 42-foot American flag was still flying over the fort. The British had failed. Moved by the sight, Key penned the poem In Defense of Fort McHenry, which was later set to music and became America's national anthem, the Star-Spangled Banner. By late 1814, both nations were exhausted. Financial strain and military stalemate led negotiators to meet in Belgium. On Christmas Eve, 1814, they signed the Treaty of Ghent. The treaty restored the status quo ante bellum, meaning all borders returned to exactly how they were before the war. Impressment was never explicitly banned in the text, but with Napoleon defeated, Britain no longer needed to impress sailors anyway. However, in the 1800s, news traveled by sail. Weeks after the peace treaty was signed in Europe, a massive British force launched an assault on the strategic mouth of the Mississippi River. On January 8, 1815, at the Battle of New Orleans, an eccentric American general named Andrew Jackson led a diverse force of regular troops, frontiersmen, free black soldiers, and Choctaw warriors behind earthen ramparts. In less than 2 hours, Jackson's forces inflicted over 2,000 casualties on the British while losing fewer than 100 men. Though the war was officially already over, the news of this staggering victory made Americans feel as if they had decisively won the entire conflict. So who actually won the War of 1812? For Canada, it was a unifying victory. Successfully repelling American invasions forged a distinct national identity that eventually paved the way for modern Canadian nationhood. For the United States, it ushered in the era of good feelings, a wave of intense nationalism and international respect. It confirmed American independence once and for all, and catapulted figures like Andrew Jackson and William Henry Harrison to the presidency. For Native Americans, however, the war was an unmitigated tragedy. With Tecumseh gone and British support withdrawn, indigenous nations lost their greatest leverage to resist westward American expansion. The War of 1812 started with no clear consensus and ended with no territorial changes. Yet it reshaped the borders, identities, and geopolitics of North America for centuries to come. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this deep dive into history, don't forget to like, subscribe, and drop a comment below. See you next time.